I must say that as a journalist and fact checker, countering disinformation and propaganda, now these days one question surfacing these days: how to explain to our audience now who is bad and who is good and who is bad guy, while they are listening the Russian propaganda from the mouth of our, until yesterday, greatest ally. We have to how to explain them this new reality. If we until now have been talking and writing about Russian propaganda that came to the Macedonian media almost exclusively via Belgrade, with the coming of power of Donald Trump in the USA, things have become mixed up and have taken on somehow from the previous point of view. If we watch them from the previous point of view, they become now as unnatural. Now, without any hesitation, Russian propaganda narratives can be conveyed through the statements of high-ranking government officials from yesterday, as I mentioned, from yesterday, main ally, the United States of America. And at the same time, they have an alibi that they are not in conflict with the common interest of our country and at least one, but quite significant part of the allies. So now that classic Russian propaganda hasn't left the region, I will just give an example of how a certain media outlet spread the Russian truth now with manipulative headlines. Like when the Baltic countries decided to completely disconnect themselves from the energy system of the Russia and to symbolically cut the ties with the former Soviet Union and Russia as its successor, this Macedonian media outlet came out with the headline, "Russia will disconnect the Baltic countries." Disconnect from its electrical system from tomorrow, like they are punishing them from their not being good friends. I mean, with this, they at least turn the truth upside down and spreading the Russian propaganda narratives. No matter what, Russia wins at the end, and the enemies will be punished. So this is something which we are used to until with all these years facing the Russian propaganda in Macedonian media. But now, in addition to this well-known Russian propagandist media, we have on the other side statements which coming from the mouth of Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Secretary of Defense Hexet, which seem to have been written like in Kremlin's top propagandist. The Macedonian media outlet now widely broadcasts the analysis and the comments of, I can say now, infamous Jeffrey Sachs and Tucker Carlson, which we already exposed once before, and as an example of the discredited Americans in service of Moscow. So, with the arrival of return of the Donald Trump to the head of the United States, all this now become these unfamous writers and the Russian propagandists became mainstream analysis for transmitting the truth, the Russian truth, the truth of the Russian war in Ukraine, and all of them have a high place in the Macedonia media outlet. Now, the main points of the spread of Russian propaganda in Macedonian media, but also more broadly in the region, are the Russian narrative that emerged from the statesman and false accusation of the US president that Ukraine started the war in Ukraine. And especially Trump's statement was, once Trump's statement was shared in the media, when he called Ukrainian President Zelensky as a dictator. For a long time, the defenders of the character and work of the Russian dictator Putin, this came as Trump says once when he meets ace in the sleeve. So now Putin hold the cards, and in the media they proclaiming it as a major victory of the Putin, Trump and Putin. Now it's all mixed up, as you said before, Trumpism, Putinism. So it's all as I can see. The other point is that now these medias are fortified with the social media bots. Now the spreading the Russia truth, copy pasting from the Russian propaganda narrative that Russia did not attack Ukraine. Russia was defending herself from the West, the Anglo-Saxons, and NATO. And if until now, this narrative has always been at the expense of the bad Americans, led by Biden, now we have an unnatural situation in which the previous Putinists and Russians are becoming big Trumpists. And America is suddenly becoming great again, when America is suddenly becoming great again. Now Western Europe and NATO are the arch enemy of the Russian world, and Trump is a good guy. We just need to get the United States off NATO. So now we come to the second point of this new normal of the Russian propaganda, which is the attacks on the US aid. For years, it was a thorn in the side of Russian dictator, which are now being helping from within with frozen funds, which Democrat movement and free media, fact checkers, and debunkers of Russian disinformation and malicious Russian narrative have been left with their hands tied and face of the maximally intensified Russian proxy players and pro-Russian. And now also with pro-Russians, now also pro-Trump and pro-MAGA media. And it looks like a real hunt, or rather a witch hunt, is taking place in the media and on social networks. So they exposed the names of the beneficiary of foreign aids from USA and accused them of malversation and embezzlement of the American taxpayers' money, citing the statement of the First Lady of the United States and Putin megaphone Elon Musk, and almost without exception, such dog-eared Kremlin narratives are spread by media outlets, reinforced by social media bots, which are directly or indirectly under the umbrella of the ruling party in North Macedonia, which previous prime minister, which is now fugitive in Budapest, are also beneficiary of the USAID funds. So at the end, the truth is once again being manipulated, and in information that the beneficiary of United States of America are not only the government and some of the major of ruling party are also directly using the grants of the US aid. They don't mention it at all. That even it is well known. Even the ruling party itself, when it was in the opposition, was using in 2022 the funds of the US aid. And
Thank you for that point.
Yes, at the really end, I must mention now for ourselves that civil media are the target of the false claims of these modern inquisitors. But even after we published the statement that our organization is not and has not been a beneficiary of USA fund, the attack do not stop, making the fight against Russia propaganda and its false narratives and disinformation even more unequal in our surroundings.